Hello, viewers. Welcome once again to the M&J podcast where we talk everything business and entrepreneurship. And today I'm joined by Innocent. Innocent, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for hosting me.
Today we have an interesting topic. We want to discuss about contracts. You know, most Zimbabwean businesses are SMEs, small to medium enterprises, and they don't see the value of contracts. Why an employee contract is important?
Yes, first and foremost, contracts. This is a legally binding document between an employer and an employee. And it is essential for us to have the contracts because it safeguards both parties' interest.
Okay, I see. So what we are usually used to do, that an uncle can just call my nephew, tomorrow I want you to come into work. What dangers are posed by doing that? Just being called to work, you don't have a contract anyway signed.
Yes, without a contract, there are a lot of dangers. This include issues to do with litigation, law, labor laws, and also without a contract, it causes a lot of expectation from both parties because you are not safeguarded by any boundaries. One, the employer might think that the employee should perform exceptionally well, and also including other areas that you might not have stipulated. Then also on the employee, he might be expecting to be paid a lot, but without the drafted contract, without the something document written and agreed, it is very important. It is very difficult, and you cause a lot of disharmony within the organization, and there is a lot of quarreling within the organization.
Okay, so as an HR consultant, a client walks in and says, I'm still small, I'm still starting, I can't afford to draft any contracts from my employee. It's expensive to me. What sort of advice would you give that client regarding contracts, especially in Zimbabwe, where things are not stable?
Without a contract, it's even more expensive than being with a contract. Why? Because if you don't have a contract, the dangers of you paying that employee more money than what you would have wished is very common. We have got cases that we are representing at the labor law there of such cases whereby someone will end up paying more because of just failing to do a contract.
Okay, so in terms of drafting an employee contract, what steps do you take to ensure that you draft a proper employee's contract?
Yes, we take into consideration the job description of the person. What is it that he or she is supposed to be doing at the work? And also we take into consideration the roles that person plays and the job in terms of the title. We also take into consideration the benefits and the compensation that person is entitled to. And also we take into consideration the type of the contract. We have got different types of contracts. We have got fixed term. We have got indefinite contracts. We also have a situation whereby if one doesn't have a contract, it will be very difficult for us to execute our duties as an employer or employee per se.
Okay, so how often should employers renew or review their employees' contracts in their organizations?
Contracts are supposed to be renewed periodically, especially if there are any changes that we are facing within the labor law. And also if there are any changes, suppose someone is promoted at work or demoted at work, the contract should be reviewed and also be amended accordingly, because everything that affects that employee's benefits or even that employee's conditions of work, we need to review those contracts. Especially here in our country, there's a lot of changes in terms of currency. Currently, you can see that there are some contracts that are sitting in our Kanban files with Zim dollars that we used to have in maybe 1995. but those contracts were never reviewed. That is a very dangerous thing to do.
So, as a consultant, how would you advise? Because a contract is not about the employee, but the employer as well. How would you advise an employer who want to draft a contract which makes sure that the organization benefits as well as the employee? Because some contract can reward an employee who is doing nothing at the company. So how do you hope to make sure that they meet halfway?
Yes, my advice to the employer and employee is that you need to have a contract. You need to have an agreed position, because without that, there is danger for everyone to lose at the end of the day.
Okay, so any cases you have dealt with so far which resulted from not having a contract in the place?
Yes, we are doing audits whereby we look at it's part of the audit procedure that we do for checking the files, the employees' contract. Some, they have got the employees' file, employees' contract, but at the end of the day, they are not compliant. For example, the example that I was giving you regarding the currents,
Yes.
That is one area that we look. We also look, some of the contracts have already expired. Some people, like, they go in, you are on onboarding for a probation of 1 month, but that contract have never been renewed. So it's danger, because at the end of the day, that automatically that employee is permanent. So we have dealt with many cases, and 95% of all the cases that we have looked at out there, the contracts that are sitting in companies' files are all invalid.
Okay, maybe so you can give us maybe 2 examples of contracts, those long-term contracts and short-term contracts.
It is very essential to stipulate what kind of a contract that you are entering with the employer and the employee. If it is a long term or a fixed term, you also need to stipulate all the nitty-gritties. That's where we come in as M&J, as consultants, and also help in terms of drafting those contracts, making sure that at the end of the day, everyone wins and there are no mitigation issues by the end of the day.
So what do you usually consider when drafting a contract for an employee? Let's say a customer walks in, they just say, I want contracts from my employees. Do you just draft a contract, or you first do some assessments to see what's on the ground?
It is contracts are tailor-made according to the company, according to the organization. And also we look at the job and the position that person is holding. We look at the roles that person is doing. We look at the benefits at the end of the day. We also look at how is it in terms of the law, what is that person entitled according to the law, according to the NEC, if that person is affiliated to any industry. For example, if you took for a company that is in construction, there are some regulations there in terms of the number of hours that person is supposed to work. So we look at a lot of aspects, and we've dealt with companies that are in different industry, and we've been doing contracts with them. Some, they used to use their own team for doing contracts, but at the end of the day, they have lost a lot of dollars due to failure to approach the people that have been in the game for quite a long time.
So any advice you want to leave for those entrepreneurs who are hesitant to have contracts for their employees?
For entrepreneurs out there who are doing contracts, can you also make sure that the contracts are done by someone who is well versed with all the laws and all the nitty-gritties that are supposed to be in the contract?
Thank you so much, Innocent, for coming to the podcast today.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, viewers, for joining us on this conversation. Make sure you subscribe, you like the channel. We see you next week.